Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. We're going back to WCW. I mean, we don't cover a ton of WCW, but at the same time, it's not like it was around for nearly as long. Like, you forget about that. You know, it's like this era here. I'm like, oh, well, you know, we haven't covered a ton. And I'm like, yeah, but there wasn't a lot to cover. And they were gone by 2000 and 2001, and most of it sucked the last few years, and WCW didn't historically have the greatest in-ring work or the most memorable matches. So, you know, I think we've done a good job of covering the ones we should cover, but the catalog is a lot more bare than WWE.
Yeah, and so when we do find one of these, like we've still got a decent amount of WCW matches that like we haven't talked about here on the show, but because there, like you said, there are some gems here, and a lot of it might be like an opener with the cruiserweights. Like for others, it might be like something like this where you catch a main event that doesn't have Hulk Hogan in it. Like I think that could be a contributing factor too to a lot of this. Is so many of these was like there was like a year and a half where Hogan was the main event, and that was it. So, but Spring Stampede overall was a pretty good show for WCW, and we've got actually a couple more matches eventually that we can cover, but 1997 DDP and Savage for now, though.
Well, I'm pumped to cover it. I mean, so this is, you know, there's obviously a couple things here. First of all, DDP kind of credits Macho Man for really elevating his career. Macho Man's macho. So, you know, 15 minutes, no DQ, these two, I'm all for it. Sign me up, man. You want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. It's time for the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So Spring Stampede, interestingly enough, there was a 94 Spring Stampede, then there was nothing until 1997. You know, now we're doing these monthly pay-per-views, and so they held the one in April of 94, and now here we are in 97. We're in Tupelo, Mississippi at the Tupelo Coliseum, 8,000 in attendance, and this is your main event, man. So let's just go through the show. We open up with Mysterio, Ultimo Dragon in 15 minutes. Mysterio gets the win. Akira Hokuto would defeat Medusa to retain the WCW Women's Championship in 5 minutes. Prince IK is going to defeat Lord Steven Regal to keep the TV title in 10 minutes. Public Enemy is going to defeat Steve McMichael and Jeff Jarrett in a 10-minute tag match. Dean Malenko is going to fight Chris Benoit to a no contest in the U.S. heavyweight title match. Kevin Nash is going to defeat Rick Steiner to retain the tag team championships. Both of them were at stake in the singles match. Lex Luger is going to become number one contender for the championship by defeating Giant, Booker T, and Stevie Ray in a four corners match in 18 minutes. Whew. And then our main event, DDP, Randy Savage, no DQ match, 15 minutes. We got Shivani and Heenan on commentary, Dusty Rhodes and Mike Tenay, Gene Okerlund in the back. So WCW kind of at its peak, and kind of a B show, I guess. I mean, no Hogan, no world title, but, you know, it looks like a pretty darn good card. So, Jeff, I know these two had a pretty strong build and a lot of intricacies. We've covered one of their matches before, but tell me how we get to this no DQ match.
Yeah, this one. So they didn't up till this point. They hadn't had a ton of interaction with each other, but they did have a lot of matches together, and these guys, from everything I've read and I think we've all heard, like these guys really enjoyed working together too. Like they put a lot into their matches. Like we all know, like as well too, or heard like, you know, the stories of like Macho really enjoyed like kind of laying it out and knowing where the match was going to go. They didn't want to call it in the ring. DDP was very committed to that, so that was a large part of this as well too. But so how we got here though, we're going to rewind the clock a little bit here. So of course this is Spring Stampede 1997. So we're in April of 1997. We're going to go back to Bash at the Beach 1996. And of course, we all know Hogan turning, being, joining the Outsiders as well too, and turning on Savage, Sting, and Lex Luger at this point. With that feud, Savage was a big part of like being one of the ones that was going against the NWO at this point. And so you had that Halloween Havoc match where Savage finally facing Hogan, losing that one after the Giant interfered, though, of course, did actually leave the company after that for a little bit because of just wasn't able to reach a new deal. So that would have been October, but before you knew it, he was actually back in the end of January. He kind of playing up that storyline with the contract as well too. And so that, him and Sting actually showing up, that they had been blackballed, that they were free agents, that you had Bischoff getting involved at the point where he's saying, hey, you could return, but only as an NWO member. And so you eventually had Sting and Savage at Super Brawl 7 for that show, where you had actually Savage turning on Sting and joining the NWO. And then also as well too, helping Hogan defeat Roddy Piper that night. It was actually when he reunited with Elizabeth that night as well too, who she had actually joined the NWO while he was gone. And then that is when really after this Super Brawl show, which would have been in February, this is when you started to see the feud of both DDP. Well, it was a little bit of everything. It was actually Elizabeth and Macho Man, and then you had DDP and Kimberly as well too. And so she was a big part of the story as well too. So switching gears though for DDP on this one though, he actually beat we have to go back a little bit here, but beat the Barbarian. Took 2 diamond cutters to beat the Barbarian to become the number 1 contender for who at the time was holding the belt, the Giant. He actually never got that title shot. He feuded with Eddie Guerrero. He was feuding with Eddie Guerrero when the NWO was formed, actually. And so it was actually Hall and Nash were actually helping DDP in his matches because they had paired up and tag teamed with Paige before. And so, helping him win the United States heavyweight title. Didn't appreciate it though. So you started to get the cracks forming as well too. And so you had him attacking DDP eventually as well too, so Guerrero could win the belt. So it's just like, so DDP had been feuding with them up till this point. Of course, one of the more famous ones, them asking them to join and then giving them both diamond cutters in early January 1997. It was actually, it sold out. And so, in becoming a face and working with the NWO at this point. And so, like I said, this is when he really started his feud with Macho Man. At this point, you had them spray painting, on the Hall and Nash spray painting DDP, NWO on his back. You actually had kind of breaking kayfabe as well at this point too. And whether or not everybody knew it at the time, Macho Man and Elizabeth revealing that DDP was actually married to Kimberly in real life. And so I know, seriously, like what is with wedding? Like seriously, you had the wedding in WWE a couple weeks ago. You got this, like just crazy. And so she actually ended up getting spray painted as well too. I had forgotten about that part of this story. And so you had that as well. And so just kind of beating each other up, kind of going at it. And so really this was spoiler here. This is the start of a long feud between these guys. And this is kind of match number really 1 in that kind of feud. After Savage was in NWO, you had DDP firmly turning down NWO, being WCW, and you getting this match between these two guys feuding.
Love it, man.
Yeah, good build.
I'm excited for this one.
Yep.
Like I mentioned, it's 15 minutes, so I'm just expecting like just a good kind of banger and should be a lot of fun.
I'm ready if you are, man.
I feel like that's a sweet spot for matches, man. Not that you can't have a 30-minute classic, but man, 15 just feels like a really good number based on us watching almost 200 of these now.
I'm with you. Yeah, anything under like 20, 15 to 20 is good stuff.
Yep. All right. So 2 hour and 22 minutes of Spring Stampede 97, 2 hours, 22 minutes. Jeff, are you ready?
That's what I got. Let's do it.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
Can't deny, and you can't really not respect Diamond Dallas Page.
He took an opportunity to achieve something. He set a goal years ago. No matter what anybody thought about, what anybody really cared about, he trained, he worked, he set a goal to be in this position that he's in now. Underdog that he might be, I guarantee you, he has became a major player at WCW. And he probably has a...
You've heard me say this before, but it just pisses me off that, Vince McMahon. So, look, the story is Macho wanted to retire, kind of wanted to get off the road. But then he kind of wanted to wrestle. So we've never really gotten the full story of it, right? Like, Lanny Poffo has said, hey, Macho wanted to wrestle and Vince didn't want him to wrestle. But then Bruce Pritchard has said, look, Macho moved to Connecticut to work in the front office. He didn't want to be on the road anymore. So we're never going to hear what exactly happened and how it all unraveled with Macho Man and why he never got in the Hall of Fame. I mean, who the hell knows, right? Well, why he didn't get in the Hall of Fame when he was still alive. But the point is that, it seemed like Macho still wanted to work a little. And obviously he brought up the, he brought up the idea of doing a feud with Shawn Michaels. It's like, just watch Macho Man during this match. And I don't know the answer to this, but what I'm assuming is he still, can really go. He still is the Macho Man. And it's just like, man, you start thinking, oh, man, Macho Man in 95, 96, WWE, WWF, like him and Bret Hart, him and Shawn Michaels, him and Steve Austin, him and The Rock, could you have done a modern day Macho Man and updated it a little bit, in the Attitude Era? I think so. I think he translates to the Attitude Era. I mean, just look at him, and maybe you do a heel. Maybe you bring back the Macho King. You give him a valet, whatever you need to do. But man, it's like, I just feel like in a lot of ways, like I don't regret Hogan going to WCW when he did. I think it actually pisses me off more that Macho left, just because I would have loved to have seen him in WWE. And I just feel like Hogan did great things in WCW. Not that Savage did bad things, but like there just wasn't a lot memorable. Like that's one that I wish never would have happened. I wish Bret Hart would have never gone to WCW either, because obviously, we've covered that. But those are just I really just wish we would have gotten more Savage in the WWF. Kind of is that, Babe Ruth type character.
Yeah,
So
which would be really good.
We don't get a lot of this anymore. I feel like they used to do more of this. I don't know if they don't do it from like a safety or liability standpoint, kind of all arena brawls. They were doing it during the pandemic because there were no fans in there. But I don't know. I like this. It's just something a little different.
They are deep in the crowd at this point. Yeah. Like, I feel like we've seen more of it. Like a lot of them, like trying to tap wrestlers on the back or like kind of like, especially with like, I feel like we've seen more cases of people trying to get in the ring as well too, like crazy fans. And so you do kind of wonder, like, it's only going to take one fan for something like that to change. And so you got Savage using Kimberly as the shield at this point here. So they're back around the ring at this point. Yeah. I'm with you. Obviously, like AEW does a lot of entrances through the crowds as well too, especially Mox. Like that always goes over well. But yeah, I feel like it's just the risk of it. I feel like is too high versus like not do it to do it versus not do it. Because yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
So best Savage matches ever. Oh, here we go.
Right here, the Macho Man Randy Savage high up
Savage
top.
up on the top.
Oh, he was way up there.
Savage,
he drove him right across.
Like he just was always a great wrestler, but I mean, he still was fantastic in this era.
Yep, that was just a double axe handle, the DDP on the outside. Yep.
I mean, you're like a modern, like an updated Macho Man during the Attitude Era. Like, come on, man, that'd be awesome.
Is there any current wrestler, like I say, like that could do what Macho does? And that's not the best way to do it, but like kind of this, because he really wasn't a character either. This is a lot of who he was. But is there anybody that comes to you, and it's okay if not, but anybody that comes to your mind that's like, yeah, they've got some Macho tendencies. They've got some things that like they that kind of, you could see it a little bit. Is there anybody that comes to your mind?
Mox.
Okay.
I think he's just a little couple screws loose in real life.
Yep, I could see that.
Macho Man. I mean, I really think like, there's just an intensity there. That's who I think of.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, even though I asked that,
now is because all these guys are on social media and all these girls are on social media, and they don't protect the business at all.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you thought the Undertaker was the Undertaker.
Well, and he's been in like some of the why he was glad he didn't. I saw the clip not that long ago again where he's like he's glad he didn't have fans at his last match because he knows like it would have been too emotional for him, and if he had started crying, it would have literally destroyed 30 years of what he had built. Like, yeah.
Greatest matches ever. Steamboat was number one, which we've covered.
Yep.
Did we cover Ted DiBiase at WrestleMania 4?
No.
Okay, next year let's do that one.
Okay.
Him and DiBiase also had a cage match in June of that year, June of '88.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if we can find it out, that's number 2 ever. We covered the Warrior match. We covered the Flair match. Tito Santana in a no DQ match in 1986.
I'm kind of looking through it here. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is happy double digits to Macho Man for being. This is the 10th match we've done of his. Some of the other crazy. This one I had forgotten about. So there is a. This would actually. It's an oddball one for sure. We have a TNA match with him, and so how much?
Cover that though.
Yeah, how many Randy Savage TNA matches have you watched in your life? You know that
there only was one. Maybe he did 2, but
this is wait till you hear who was in this match. We'll cover this sooner than later. AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Randy Savage versus Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall.
His final match.
Yep,
May 12th of 2004. He hadn't wrestled in 4 years.
Crazy.
God, it's so interesting. We talk about, and I know I brought this up before, stiff clothesline there, how few wrestlers ever have their final match on like a big stage.
Yep.
Like a great send-off. Obviously, Flair ruined his, Foley ruined, I mean, you go down the list, but, like true send-off. I mean, Savage's last match was 6-man in TNA. His second to last match was in a battle royal in WCW. His third to last match was a hardcore match against Dennis Rodman. I mean, so, Hulk Hogan, his last match was on a TNA house show overseas. So, Yeah, it's a shame, but yeah, let's cover that match soon. I'd love to cover that one.
Yeah, that's one. So you get this one, Savage kind of playing the heel, kind of dominating DDP at this one, like and go using the ropes for pins, stuff like that, like just kind of all over the place. Yep.
And what was DDP's last match? Was he did an AEW match, right?
I don't know. I'll kind of look it up and see what we got going on here. But
he did a tag match. I'll try and find it. I think he did a tag match.
He was, yes. This would have been January 2020.
Yeah. DDP, Dustin Rhodes, and QT Marshall against MJF, the Blade, and the Butcher. And then he did it. He was in the pre-WrestleMania Battle Royal. How's that for God? I'm just looking at some of the names in this Battle Royal. Tatanka, Shaquille O'Neal, Big Show, Kane, Goldust, DDP. Oh my goodness. And then he was in the Royal Rumble in 2015. And I forgot he did those TNA matches too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
TNA matches.
So you got Macho kind of working over DDP hard here.
What do you like better? Do you like the Savage look with long pants or the old school short? I'm
all about NWO Macho. Like there is something to be said for the old school Macho look, but at the same time, like they just did a good job. Like he looks good in the NWO gear, like the pants and stuff like that. He's grabbing the ring bell at this point now, trying to take it back in.
So Eric Bischoff brought up something interesting on his podcast a few months ago, and I want your thought on it. The problem with Macho in the NWO is that there's nothing different about his character other than the NWO t-shirt. So
yeah, that makes sense.
The white looks great, but
he is. He let him lay there too long.
So the problem is that he's just the Macho Man, whereas Hulk Hogan does the hair color thing with the goatee and the black mustache, and he changes his look from red and yellow to black and white. Hogan just looked a lot different. He wore long pants instead, and he acted different. The problem with Savage, he acted the same. So I would have said Macho could have really changed.
Oh boy, that was a great counter move to a backslide.
That was a great counter move.
Oh, that's the experience right here showing.
Low blow, both guys down.
Low blow.
Yeah, so Savage, again, he obviously was going with what worked, but it would have been nice to see him really change his character for the NWO. Don't know.
I think that,
but
you make an interesting point there because, how does he change the character though? Because like I said, he's being himself, which, they always say your character should be, degrees to yourself. But if you were in his role, I guess, how would you want to change your character after joining the NWO?
So Savage was
that was a stiff kick.
Mark Curtis
his head looks.
And he's got about a 12-inch neck. He may never walk again.
I'm going to tell you what.
He's going to whip him.
The frustration of the NWO is coming out right here in this match.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
He's forgotten about Page. He's just frustrated.
Macho is whipping the referee with his belt. His
whipping a referee with his own belt.
Yeah, Savage looks great, dude.
Anyways, any thoughts on how he could have changed the character?
Just the problem, he's wearing the same outfit, man. I mean, part of it is just changing the outfit. Changing the facial hair. I mean, anything. All right, so he's back up for the elbow.
So many matches with this move right here.
God, look at that elbow drop, man. That is so good.
See, there's nobody
no
to
ref.
count. No one to make the 3 count. Maybe that was the plan Savage had. But exactly. Also, that's right, maybe.
Oh, here comes Nick Patrick, the evil NWO referee.
No sleeves. That's how you know. That's how you change up your outfit. You cut the sleeves off and it makes you bad guy.
A lifeless DDP. Nash looking on.
It's been a big night for Kevin Nash. Everyone's watching this. It is on.
He got him. He hooked him, boys. He hooked him. That's it. That's it. This place has
hit him with the diamond cutter out of nowhere.
Savage, when you thought he had Diamond Dallas had Savage, and look at Nick Patrick.
The pressure's on him right now, Brain. He knows he's not going to get up.
Come on, Patrick.
Count him. Go ahead. You better count.
Come on. 1, 2, 3. He got him. He got him. Is Nick Patrick back or what? You tell me. I can't figure it out.
Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, it's not over yet.
Oh, my.
The frustration of the NW.
Okay, so DDP wins.
Kimberly's checking on him. And Nash has Patrick. Here comes all the NWO.
They don't look happy. Bischoff. 6. Ted
$1 million buff.
Scott Norton. Fake Sting. Vincent. Man, was this thing watered down or what at this point?
Boy, yeah.
We're checking on Savage. He's really, really selling Diamond Cutter. Liz on the apron. They're not happy with Nick Patrick.
Nope.
All right, we'll keep this on as we shift, but let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
It was not quite what I wanted, but it was still not bad.
Agreed.
Like, and now, especially with this ending now, it's just overbooked to absolute hell. Like, yeah.
Oh, Nick Patrick's about to take a jackknife.
Oh, look at that!
That is a big jackknife.
Of Nick Patrick, and now 6.
Yeah. I mean, is this it, or are they anybody gonna save him? I mean, this feels like I'm trying to think what year this was. 97. Yeah, this feels like a Sting out of the rafters thing to finish the show. But let's see what happens here. This was it was not what I was hoping for. Oh, he's got Kimberly.
Trying to talk some sense into
But this doesn't age well either.
He has stopped him, Tony.
I've never agreed with Eric Bischoff in the last 6 months, but I do now.
Well, he had to do that to.
So what were the reviews on this match?
Yeah,
What I tell you? Did I get it right?
Yep, they're all looking. Yep.
All looking up.
Yeah. So, well, this was the first match with this. Yeah, Savage pushing Bischoff, Kimberly sneaking out. Nope. Feuding NWO. Anyways, okay. DDP was 4, Savage was 19. This eventually became, by PWI, the feud of the year. Based on this match, not so much. But torch on this one, is there a book? Well, you're going to enjoy this one. Is there a booker for WCW who would put their name on this thing? Does anybody there have a semblance of what logic means? I think not. This was a classic WCW pay-per-view in that it was filled with finishes that made little or no sense, and work was being wasted by lack of a promotional direction. Supposedly, there's a tug of war going on behind the scenes between various factions. Someday, a book will be written about all of the squandered talent and how it was blatantly misused and abused by Bischoff and company. They have 3 times the talent of WWF and get a slightly better Monday night rating. Bischoff has a team of all-stars that win by 1 run, and he thinks he is the manager of the year. This is getting ridiculous. 3.5 stars. The Observer newsletter, this was the second best match on this card, but not great. Yeah. Even though the pre-match hype listed the Four Corners match as the main event, this was given the main event trappings. Both worked real hard, and Savage looking the best he has in a long time, and Paige really getting the timing of when to make his moves down impressively. Kimberly was even impressive in her role, practically the way she sold when Savage was about to attack her. As in the past, she overacted a lot. After the match, we're seeing what's happening. The entire audience at this point began looking to the ceiling since they'd spent the show teasing Sting. This left the show on a flat note since they didn't deliver on the tease, so it made no sense to tease it. I wound up with Bischoff trying to stop Savage from hitting Kimberly, so Savage threw down and hit Bischoff as the show went off the air, with Bischoff again being listed in the final credits as Senior Vice President of WCW, something in the storyline he's supposed to have been removed from many weeks ago. 3.25 stars. So you got 3.5 and 3.25. What are you feeling here?
5. My payoff score is a 5. I just, for a main event of a $30 pay-per-view, a supposed feud of the year, 2 Hall of Famers, there's nothing about that match that, you wouldn't say, oh, you got to go back and see such and such, or, oh, that was a really cool moment, or, oh, man, the finish was really very disappointing. And I know it's well reviewed. This is we cover these matches, because most of them are either super famous or they're very well regarded. This is a well regarded match. It was feud of the year, but not a great match. So I'm at a 5. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like it is a perfect encapsulation at the end of the overbooking. Like there's so much going. It could have been a good match. It could have stood out on its own, but then you have literally 10 people coming to the ring. Like, why? Like, is there any need for that? Absolutely not. And so, yeah, while it was fine, that's all it was to me, was fine. So, yeah, unfortunate, but that's just how it goes.
All right. Well, this is why we cover the matches, man.
I'm hoping, like, we've got hopefully some good ones coming up here in the future. Maybe I just picked some mediocre matches here. We've got another WCW match next week. We've got a hidden gem here. I don't even know if you realized who this is. And so we're doing Ring of Honor. And so in a couple weeks here, and it's a 2008 match between a young kid, his name is Brian Danielson, versus another young kid named Tyler Black, who now goes by the name of one Seth Rollins. So I haven't seen it. I don't even know if we're gonna be able to find some story for it, but the match is out there on Ring of Honor, and so why not?
Tyler Black is such a better name
than Seth Rollins. Yeah. Seth freaking Rollins, whatever. Yeah. I'd watch Tyler Black, absolutely. So all right, let's send him home happy, my friend.
I'm looking at our upcoming schedule. I'm really pumped to cover all these.
We're doing a little NXT. June. I am super excited about June. We've got some really good stuff that month. Getting back into some Shawn Michaels, we got some King of the Ring action to follow up the end of the May's King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia, which should be really good.
Good. Well, we appreciate everyone listening. And as always, we will see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.